Hello everyone, my name is Rose Shards, but feel free to call me Rose, Chloe, or honestly whatever you want. If you guys remember, a little while back I hosted a poll on my YouTube channel asking for my planned speed paint on Ivypool and Dovewing if I should make the audio a rant as originally intended, if I should instead make it an Ain't It Fun explanation special similar to my Joanna explanation video, or if I should combine both of these options into one video. The majority of you guys voted that I should combine these options, so that's what I'm doing now. But before I get into the speed paint, I want to take a moment to talk to you guys about Warriors Amino. Amino is an app that has millions of tight-knit and unique communities, all designed to bring people together based on their interests, fandoms, and more. As I said, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Warriors Amino. The Warriors Amino features a ton of super cool art, designs, and more, all based around the Warriors community. On top of that, there are countless of fun quizzes you can play to either test your knowledge on the series or to just have a bit of fun in the community. There are also a ton of really awesome chats that you can join to either roleplay, talk about certain characters or books, or to just relax with some other fans of the series. One of my favorite things about the app is that many underrated artists get featured all of the time, really allowing them to get some of the recognition that they deserve for their lovely work. And one final thing, as something special to give back to you guys for supporting me, I'm going to be doing a small little raffle on Warriors Amino. All you have to do to enter is like the image I'm working on now over on Amino, and you'll be entered into the raffle. The winner will get to talk to me personally and give me a topic idea for my next speed paint, even getting to help me decide what picture I'll draw to go along with it. If you want to participate in this little raffle of mine, you can easily download Warriors Amino for free just by searching it up on the App Store or by pressing the link in the description or pinned comment. You can then find me by searching my username, Rose Shards. Again, this is a really cool opportunity for me to give back to you guys, so make sure you don't miss out on your chance to enter. Now, onto the speed paint. I'm going to start off by talking about and explaining my Ain't It Fun PMV. I'm going to be explaining some of my thoughts behind the scenes in the PMV, and we'll be doing a short Q&A session. Unlike the Joanna explanation video, I won't be doing a tip section for PMVs just because there's a lot I need to cover in this video already. Anyways, onto the analysis portion of the video. My explanations probably aren't going to be massively detailed because, unlike Joanna, I think that Ain't It Fun is a lot more straightforward. I didn't really adjust certain book scenes to make things fit more, and there was no red star symbolism or anything like that. Basically, everything that happened in Ain't It Fun is exactly like how it happened in the books. The PMV starts off with Dovepaw leaving Firestar's den, Lionblaze and Jayfeather waiting nearby. Dovepaw has just told Firestar about the creatures that are blocking the stream, and so she and Lionblaze get permission to venture off to find and defeat them. Meanwhile, Ivypool is left alone for the duration of their journey, feeling she has no one to turn to. When they return, however, I wanted to show that Ivypool is becoming a tad bit jealous of her sister. She's happy for her and happy that she's back, but part of her wants to be the one who's being praised instead. She's unhappy because the world doesn't orbit around her in this moment. This jealousy isn't strong enough to consume her, though it does foreshadow her feelings towards Dovepaw later on. I then wanted to have Dovepaw and Ivypool happily racing through the forest, enjoying their time together. Dovepaw, having been forced into the prophecy, however, then has to stop playing with her sister to instead discuss important things with Lionblaze and Jayfeather, the other prophecy cats. Ivypool doesn't understand this, however, because she doesn't know of the prophecy, so she instead feels like she's just being abandoned by her own sister. Having no one else to turn to, Hawkfrost begins to visit her in her dreams. He makes it clear that he is proud of her and appreciates her, and does a bit of training with her. Once he has gained her trust and finally deems she is ready to meet the other Dark Forest trainees, Tigerstar comes out of hiding to meet with them. Tigerstar also makes it clear he is proud of her. Ivypool, feeling neglected and abandoned by her own clan, constantly being overshadowed by Dovepaw, is simply ecstatic to have finally met not only one, but two cats who appreciate her. She has heard tales of Tigerstar and his evil ways but ignores them, believing that Tigerstar and his son truly appreciate her and value her for being herself. As the lyrics say, she is literally living in a bubble, misleading herself from the truth of Tigerstar and Hawkfrost being bad simply because they make her feel wanted. This is where things really begin to get messy for Ivypool in my opinion. Ivypool is back in ThunderClan. She no longer feels happy for Dovepaw and the opportunities she's getting. Instead, Tigerstar and Hawkfrost have completely convinced her to feel hatred and anger towards her own sister. She glares at Dovepaw. She spends even more time with the clan leader. I always imagine that at this part of the song, when it says, "What are you gonna do when the world don't orbit around you?" that Ivypool, noticing how often Dovepaw is now in the spotlight, is thinking this to herself, asking herself how her sister would even cope with anything if she weren't constantly the center of attention anymore. She believes Dovepaw is on some sort of high horse and wouldn't be ready for the real world if not everyone loved her. However, this is more of a double entendre because though Ivypool thinks that Dovepaw is the stuck-up one, in reality, it is Ivypool who is acting out because the world doesn't revolve around her, and she's only making things worse for herself by doing this. seeing as not even Dovepaw wants to spend time with her anymore. Ivypaw realizes she is only making herself suffer, but is too stubborn to admit it, this being why I gave her this really uncertain but angry expression as she looks away from Dovepaw. The next scene is her battling in the dark forest. Ivypaw, feeling neglected and worthless, sees the real world as a horrible, agonizing, and cruel place. The real world is full of misery and fighting. With this new outlook on life, she really is beginning to fit in with the dark forest. After her fight is over with the Black Cat, she flees the scene, unable to cope with her overwhelming emotions in the moment. However, she runs into Tigerstar telling Tigerheart the exact same things he told her to win her over. She is shocked as she realizes that Tigerstar never valued her as an individual, but instead just wanted to manipulate and use her. As the lyrics say, she really can't count on anyone. She really is alone. Finally back in the forest, Dovepaw has convinced Lineblaze and Jayfeather to let her tell Ivypaw why she appears to be so special. She admits she has a power and is part of the prophecy. Ivypaw is shocked, but accepts this and understands everything now. She then is filled with determination, becoming a spy so she can help defeat the Dark Forest. Many moons later, Ivypaw is now Ivypool. In order to get closer to the leaders of the Dark Forest, she needs to become a warrior in their eyes. She is told to prove herself by fighting Antpelt. In this moment, she has nobody to turn to, nobody to cry to. She has to be strong and ruthless for the greater good of all of the clans. She ultimately has to kill Antpelt in order to become a Dark Forest warrior. I thought this part was really cool because the lyric is "Baby, now you're one of us," which signifies that she has truly become as cold and as evil as them, having just brutally murdered a cat. It's ironic at the same time though, because this is the opposite of what she truly wants, and is horrified by her actions. While the Dark Forest leaders cheer for her, she feels great pain but is unable to express herself. She yowls into the sky, a yowl of not only triumph but of her pain, as this transitions into the next scene. And now, the Dark Forest cats finally attack the clans. Once they get to the Wind Clan camp, Ivypool finally reveals her true intentions, turning on Hawkfrost and the other Dark Forest members. Hawkfrost attempts to attack her, but Hollyleaf tackles him and intercepts. He slashes her neck instead and leaves, Ivypool simply having to watch in horror. She then desperately tries to carry her back to ThunderClan, meeting Tigerheart on the way, who volunteers to help. Upon their arrival, they see cats fighting to the death in the camp. Leafpool mourns Hollyleaf, Broken Star kills FernCloud and is then killed by his own mother, and Brightheart is left to helplessly guard the kits. Ivypool then attacks Hawkfrost and is nearly defeated by him, but Brambleclaw intercepts and grabs his brother by the scruff. Ivypool gives him one last scratch before Brambleclaw kills Hawkfrost for good. The two then stare at his body as the battle continues around them. What I loved about this scene is the repetition of the lyrics in the real world, because it shows that the real world isn't a happy place. Not in the Warriors universe anyways. Family members are killing each other, innocent cats are dying, and there is so much pain and suffering happening all in one place. The real world can be really cruel, and in the end, everyone will suffer at some point because of it. I honestly think that this song is one of the best songs that can represent Ivypool's life in Omen of the Stars. I thought that the contrast between certain scenes was also really interesting, because in the beginning, Ivypool was selfish and was creating her own problems out of jealousy. She was upset over little things and making things horrible for herself, not even knowing at the time what the real world was capable of doing to her. Later on, her problems become far more serious as she watches others suffer, constantly has to throw herself into dangerous situations, and even has to kill a cat. She truly gets a taste of the real world, realizing that there are far more serious problems that extend far past her own selfishness, and that everyone in the forest has to endure horrors at some point. I thought that this song was really able to represent her change in character, which is part of the reason why I chose it. Ultimately, I'm really happy with the scenes I chose to represent, and I think that the song made the whole thing so much stronger. So yeah, that was it for the explanation/analysis portion of the video. I'm not sure if that was long for you guys, but I don't think it was as long as the Joanna one, but as I said, a lot of the PMV was really straightforward. And so, finally, on to the Q&A session. For the first question, Nova Draws asks, do you think Ivypool should have taken Dovewing's spot in the 3/4? No, I don't. And to be honest, I'm extremely confused by people who think she should have. Had Ivypool been part of the 4 or the 3, it would have completely changed the entire arc and made many things pointless. A lot of what happened in the arc is because of Ivypool being jealous of Dovewing. And think about it, had Ivy taken Dove's spot, the arc would instead be about Dovewing being jealous and her going on to do the same stuff Ivypool did. This change is making Ivypool the hated sister rather than Dovewing. Ivypool also being recruited by the Dark Forest doesn't really make her special. In fact, not even being a spy made her special. Tiger Heart was a spy for the Dark Forest too, and most of the recruits were still loyal to their own clans, so she doesn't really stand out. While killing Ant Pelt to become a warrior was a tough thing to do and really showed how strong she was, I don't personally think it was necessary. She didn't really do much with her warrior position from what I can remember, and I think that the battle would have been won anyways, seeing as she didn't need to be a Dark Forest warrior to convince the other already loyal cats that they should be fighting for their own clans. Anyone could have done it. I also feel like her being part of the prophecy would have made her actions a lot weaker. I think it's a lot more emotional and powerful just to see a regular clan warrior step up and do what she did to try and save the clan, especially after all the hurt she's been through. And for the next question, Laura Paints Warriors asks, what led you to your design of Hawkfrost? I'm not sure, honestly. I remember back when I started to try and get more experimental with the stylization of my characters, the Madness of King Tigerstar map inspired me to start drawing Tigerstar with a few traits that were similar to Scar from The Lion King. I then thought it would be interesting to give the whole family traits inspired by The Lion King, giving the tiger family this sort of signature, unique look. I thought it would be really interesting to draw Hawkfrost with this big, broad muzzle, and that this cheek fluff and little mane of his were a cool touch too, reminiscent of big cats, this showing off the strength of the family line. Basically, I just wanted to experiment more with my designs, and I'm really glad I did, because I honestly love how I draw Hawkfrost in this family. Small Animations asks, why did you think Ivypool would be good for this song? And when I was paying attention to the lyrics, the whole what are you gonna do when the world don't orbit around you thing really caught my attention. For some reason, I just imagined Ivypool staring off at Dovewing, angry about her being in the spotlight, wondering what Dovewing would do if suddenly nobody were to notice her. But I also really liked how this lyric could also be a double entendre in the situation, seeing as Ivypool is lashing out because the world doesn't orbit around her. I then gave the whole song a few more listens and realized that a lot of the lyrics really fit her story and her feelings, and slowly but surely I pieced the whole PMV together with each listen. I also really liked that the song was more upbeat because Ivypool had this really action-packed and adventurous life, so I thought that was fitting too. Creative Haven Spirit asks, I desire to make PMVs in the future, but I have a tendency to include too many details and pieces. Do you have any suggestions on how to do PMVs quickly? And I don't think there is anything wrong with having a lot of details in your pieces, but it depends on the kind of look you're going for. I made the style for Ain't It Fun a lot more bold because it fit with the style of the song, but if you look at You Worry Me, I went for a more detailed painted style because I thought it fit the mood of the song more. Spending more time on a PMV that would ultimately look better with a more detailed look is not bad at all, and I think it will be worth the wait in the end. But if you want to go for a more simplistic style, I'd just suggest limiting yourself. Maybe give yourself a limit for how much time you're going to spend on each frame, or do really simplified shading instead. Stop yourself when you know you're getting too detailed or when you're spending too much time on a shot. I also recommend reusing as many backgrounds as possible. Adding certain limitations will cause you to be more aware of the time you're spending on something and will cause you to work faster, I find. That being said, despite finishing the majority of Ain't It Fun within just 2 weeks, I'd often spend 7 to 8 hours or more on it a day, so it wasn't entirely that quick. I don't know, these things take time, so in the end you may as well just be better off being patient. I don't know, I hope I was able to give some decent advice. And finally, Ashling Cashling asks, my question is about the Dark Forest / Place of No Stars characters. Many people like to depict them as ghosts with transparent pelts and wounds that never heal, but you just made them look as alive as the other cats. Why is that? And I don't know, I've just never imagined Dark Forest cats as transparent or anything while reading the books. I think the idea of their wounds never healing is really cool though, but it's just something I've never really imagined or drawn either. That is something that I might start doing though. But if you think about it though, transparency in the characters often signifies that they are not really there, that though they're visible, they can't be interacted with or touched. That's part of the reason why I've always seen it as sort of weird for them to be more ghost-like. Like, how can you be fighting something that's not fully there? I don't know. If I could go back and change anything though, I would for sure give the Dark Forest cats a red outline to show that they are the baddies. And now, finally, it's time for the rant you've all been waiting for. While Omen of the Stars wasn't horrible, I hated many aspects of it. From long before I read the arc, I had heard that the contrast between Ivypool and Dovewing and their relationship as siblings was going to be amazing. I'd already spoiled a lot of the arc for myself, and I knew about their troubles as sisters, and I thought that it seemed very interesting. And it brought something new and unique to the table. However, when I read the arc, I was massively disappointed. The way their sibling rivalry was portrayed was promising at first, but ended up being absolutely terrible in my opinion, and the authors missed out on many opportunities with the two. Today I'm going to be talking about what made their sibling rivalry bad and how it impacted the rest of the arc. What I had liked about the jealousy in the beginning is that it started out slow. You could tell it was there, but it didn't really damage the relationship so much. They were still really close, and it was obvious that they still cared for each other as siblings. As Ivypool feels more and more left out and turns to Hawkfrost, this is when things really go downhill for the two of them. At this point, the two can't even be near each other for minutes at a time without getting into a huge fight. They argue constantly, and even others are beginning to show some concern for them. What made this especially interesting and unique is you could tell that despite their apparent hatred for each other, they did care about each other, and they did want to be able to interact, but they just couldn't. The jealousy that Ivypool felt and Dovepaw's inability to come clean about what was really happening prevented them from being able to have a normal relationship, and this was really good and interesting. It was thrilling to see their sides of things and to see how far this could really go. So, where did it all go wrong? Dovepaw is finally able to tell Ivypool why she is seen as special and tells her about the prophecy and her powers. Keep in mind, their sibling rivalry has been going on for about one full book now. After learning that Dovepaw is part of the prophecy, there is a line that says something along the lines of Ivypool feeling a small amount of jealousy return, but that's it. Ivypool is completely accepting of the fact that Dovepaw has a power and is part of this epic prophecy, and she isn't. Someone tell me how this makes sense. Before, Ivypool was offended just by the idea that people may think Dovepaw is a better hunter than her and had to constantly receive reassurance from Hawkfrost that she is capable of being better than Dovepaw at all. How does it make sense that Ivypool can be so upset over smaller things, but then calms down when she realizes that her sister is part of this prophecy and she isn't? Wouldn't she feel even more left out? Wouldn't she be even more jealous? Wouldn't she be asking why StarClan had chosen to bless her sister with powers instead of her? Wouldn't this make her feel even more worthless, this pushing her to train even harder to be better than her sister? Their little rivalry was already getting bad, but I was certain that this was the moment that would make things worse. I thought Ivypool would be even more determined now to return to the Dark Force and actually side with them, as long as they would teach her the advanced skills she would need to be seen as more valuable than Dovepaw, even if she had the prophecy on her side. And the fact that their little sibling rivalry only lasted one full book, having started towards the middle or end of Fading Echoes and officially ending towards the end of Night Whispers, I thought the whole thing was especially weak, pointless even. Aside from the arguments they had every now and then, it really wasn't that bad. I was expecting Dovepaw's confession to completely end up making things worse unintentionally. I just felt like there was so much lost potential with this. If you want to argue that Ivypool had to accept Dovewing's power in order to become a spy, that point simply isn't strong enough to excuse such a poorly written conflict between the two. Ivypool was honestly a horrible spy anyways. Most of the time when she would be asked about the Dark Forest, she wouldn't say anything for whatever stupid reason she had. Like, if she didn't plan on actually sharing any valuable information, she may as well have turned down the request to become a spy in the first place. But anyways, had Ivypool gone to the Dark Forest every night to viciously train, she would still be learning about the Dark Forest. She would still have the knowledge she would have had she stayed a spy, and I imagine she'd have actually wanted to become a Dark Forest warrior just to show that she could be strong and powerful like Dovewing, so she wouldn't have missed out on any exclusive warrior information. And just because she originally wanted to side with the Dark Forest, that doesn't mean she can't change her mind. Based on the spoilers I'd seen when I was younger, I always thought that Dovewing and Ivypool grew very distant for the entirety of the arc, and that up until the Dark Forest battle, that Ivypool had actually wanted to work for the Dark Forest. I thought that as she witnessed the horrors that were unfolding around her due to the Dark Forest's evil ways that she had simply been ignoring because she wanted to become strong out of jealousy, that was when she turned on Hawkfrost and the others. The moment she turned on them, she could have used what she learned from them against them, essentially making her a spy unknowingly. If you want to say that that's too late for her to turn on them, she could have realized how wrong the whole thing was when Beetlewhisker was slaughtered for little reason. She could have finally gone to Dovewing to talk about what she'd seen and then tell the clan about the things she had witnessed and the best ways to take down the Dark Forest. She only really shares what she learned from the Dark Forest in the middle of The Last Hope anyways, so it wouldn't be a huge time difference. I think that had the timeline had been more like this, that Omen of the Stars would have been so much more emotional and powerful. Ivypool and Dovewing would be completely torn apart, like they weren't siblings at all. Ivypool would work hard each night to become one of the Dark Forest's best trainees, eventually becoming a Dark Forest warrior, purely inspired by the idea of finally being appreciated more than Dovewing, ignoring the evils around her because of this. Meanwhile, Dovewing would feel trapped and upset, feeling unable to talk to her sister just because she's been forced into some sort of destiny that she didn't even want to be burdened with to begin with. And after seeing the damage Ivypool had caused and what was going on around her, she could have finally been swayed to turn against the Dark Forest. I think that the last hope would have been great if it focused on Dovewing and Ivypool reconnecting after an arc of growing distant and resentful to one another, and it just would have had so much more of an impact compared to two little apprentices having a little rivalry and arguing every now and then. So many more of their external and internal conflicts could have been explored and could have just made things so much more interesting. Sorry, that's it for the rant. It was pretty short because I've had to talk about a lot of other things in this video, and so if there's anything about this that my idea that's confusing you or anything that you want to ask about, I'll do my best to respond to your comments just because I didn't get to talk about it a lot in this video, but yeah. Also let me know your thoughts in the comments and tell me if you agree with my opinion on the situation or not. I also hope that you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about Ancient Fun and the thought process and ideas behind it, and hopefully it maybe allows you guys to see it in a new light and potentially clear up any confusion and questions you may have had about the project. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember to check out Warriors Amino to like my post if you guys are interested in potentially having me talk about a topic of your choice. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.